Meeting called to order. Today is Tuesday, May 3rd. It is now 6:02 PM. Town Council meeting in Town Council Chambers, 1170 Main Street, West Warwick, Rhode Island. Mark, will you lead us in prayer?
Father, we pray that you guide us through this meeting, help us to do things according to the laws of the land, help us to appreciate the fact that we have the type of government that we have, and help us, Father, to do the best that we can to preserve what we have. It's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Jay, read us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You're turning the opposite way. That's what I was just looking at.
Roll call.
Why is that? Is it going to be
Councilman Lichardi,
It's on his way. He'll be a few minutes late.
Councilman Messier,
here?
Councilman Bourget,
Here.
Council Vice President Williamson. Here. And Council President Goslin.
Here,
Quorum is declared.
can we make a?
I'd like to make a motion to actually move E licenses to the top of the list.
E1 through 16. Do I have a second?
Second. This one I have to, so I just.
Okay. Well,
Make it easier this
One
time.
out, yeah,
I just wasn't there sure if there's an issue with somebody else. That's why you asked.
okay.
All in favor?
I
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Recuse
Now,
myself.
we just need somebody to move the licenses.
move the licenses.
Second.
Moving second for the record, Councilman Messier had to recuse himself. So we have 16 licenses before us tonight. Any questions, concerns? Any public comment?
My only thing is just to, I know is taken care of, I believe, but just to make sure that there's not going to be alcohol at the
04.
04, yes, thank you.
Yes.
No, there, that has been removed from the request.
Yep. That is all set. Any other comments? Any public comment? Hearing none? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. All licenses have been approved for Deborah's down the road, Matthew Dennison Charitable Foundation, the Friends of West Warwick Public Library, St. Anthony's Church, Sergio Rodriguez, Pamela Zales, the St. Angelo Kennel License, Angelo and Padula Sons Pots, JD Auto Sales, St. Anthony's Church for Parade License, St. Anthony's Church for Dance Live Band, St. Anthony's Church for a Class F liquor license, Mayhant Bread and Stuff, and Music Magic have all been approved.
That didn't hurt too much, right? No? Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Ordinances, ordinance approving an extended tax incentive and stabilization program 95 Washington Street, first reading previously stated.
Move the ordinance.
Move to take it off the table.
Sorry, second.
Moving second to take it off the table. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. I just need somebody to move the ordinance.
I'll move the ordinance.
Second.
Moving second, discussion. I think we have legal representation. Just state your name and address for the record.
Please, this honor of the council. My name is Vincent Indalia from Indalia Latrario. Our address is at 300 Centerville Road, Warwick, Rhode Island. We represent the applicant, who is the owner of the property, Coastal Corp. 3 lots as of right now.
Hello.
That's,
Okay,
there you go. Yeah.
I'm sure you've all had a most recent copy of this proposed ordinance. You may or may not be aware, but in about 2012 and 2014, the town once again approved and ratified the creation of the Arctic Village District Redevelopment Agency. In addition, it adopted a portion of Title 45 of the Rhode Island General Law, which authorized the town to have the powers to enter into tax incentive or tax stabilization agreements with developers, business owners, et cetera, to assist as a tool in redeveloping the Arctic district that was designated by the town a number of years ago. The council body, not this particular group of council people, voted back then to allow the district to have very broad authority, the Arctic Village redevelopment agency to have very broad authority as to how that property should be redeveloped for both residential, commercial, minimal industrial, but it's all contained within their authority. When a plan comes before them, you eliminated the need to go to planning or zoning. All that power was vested in them. They were also empowered the right to consider and recommend, but not approve, recommend any incentives that would be on a taxing basis. And that's what brings us here, because they heard our presentation as to the type of tax incentive Coastal Corp is seeking in the development of these condominiums it seeks to build. They favorably recommended it to you, and that brings us here today. Some of you, I think, sat on a number of previous tax incentive programs. You have examples of them at the Lippet Mill. Anthony Mill's not in this town, it's right over the border, right?
Right.
But that was another example of a tax incentive program. And of course, Washington, right on 69 Washington Street, there was one that was approved. Likewise, these are vacant, for lack of a better word, just desolate lots. This developer proposes to create, in the same vein that it had previously, additional condominium units in a hopes to redevelop and beautify and make more productive that particular corner of Washington Street and Crawford Avenue. The way the proposed tax stabilization agreement, and I call it a stabilization agreement because it allows the buyers of those potential units, or if it was to be maintained solely by one owner, ability to stabilize the taxes going forward so that the project has the appropriate ability to be constructed and then marketed to new residents of the town of, hopefully, town of West Warwick. Typically what is done, and I've done a number of these throughout the state, is whatever your land-based tax is today, and pick a number for just discussion purposes, $1,000. That land tax during the term of the tax stabilization agreement between the property owners and the town would remain constant. So today it's vacant land, you get $1,000. For the life of the ordinance, you get $1,000. The property is then improved. You build condominiums on it. And through discussions with the tax assessor, we've been advised that the tax assessors look at, based upon what you're presenting, the 2-bedroom unit, kitchen, living area space of approximately 1,000 to 1,200 square feet. He believes that the assessed value of a completed new unit would be $90,000. That gets assessed and locked in at that price for the term of the proposed ordinance, which would be 10 years. And in year one, 10% of whatever the tax on a $90,000 assessment would be paid. The next year, it would be 20%, 30%. And in the life of a town, not in my life is much shorter, but in the life of a town, that is a small portion to stabilize that tax to the point in year 10, it's fully taxed. At no point, and I understand some council people had a question, well, what about the land portion? Why are we discounting the land? You don't, it always remains constant. And so that's where the ordinance reads. We've provided a chart for it, both a hypothetical and an actual chart based upon the values that would be there. And it shows what would be collected by the town for the real estate value, just the land, and then what would be collected by the town for the improvements, the final construction based upon certificate of occupancy being issued by your building inspector. It appears that when my office did it with Lippert Mills that came out of a receivership a number of years. I think that may be into the 7th year by now or 6th year by now, at least. That, right? Yeah, it might even
I
be
think it's more
done.
than that. Yeah,
Might even
I
be
think it
done.
might, I think
Almost, but it might be almost,
the agreement might be.
the agreement,
Yes,
the
yeah,
agreement might be all done
yeah,
and being fully assessed by now. So that tells you
Right.
my life, how quickly it went by. 69 Washington Street is just coming up on its first year of activity. And we believe that this would be an additional jumpstart to moving on that block and cleaning up what was previously 69 Washington Street was just a disaster of a dilapidated, abandoned property. And these lots are abandoned and, prior to Mr. Wilbur's company acquiring them, they were littered and they were just a problem area for loitering, et cetera. Hopefully you'll have the same type of buildings that you see there at 69 Washington Street or similar there too, whatever the redevelopment agency approves, because they have broad discretion and strong discretion on architectural styles, et cetera. But that's what we have. I'm open to any questions. Mr. Wilbur's here. I believe he's tried to be cooperative in answering questions to your staff during this process.
Certainly, thank you. So attached to the agenda was the original proposal that was discussed. One of the things that came up was, I guess, I would term it as ambiguity or not being clear on the land value tax being paid. It was confusing on the original chart. And our research shows that that's not the way it typically happens. So I know Council Vice President Williamson has spoken to Mr. Wilbur frequently. And I joined on several of those meetings, and a revised chart, I believe, was forwarded to him this morning.
yesterday, actually.
Yesterday, and I think that one chart, if you will, I think it makes it a little more clear. There's one here if you want it.
Thanks.
I memorized it. Sure. That more clearly depicts how the land value would continue to be paid. The tax on the land value would continue to be paid in some fashion, and who's responsible for it through the life of the agreement. So I don't think the financial part changes significantly.
No, that's
I think it's just year one is changed, because I think the original one showed 0% for year one. And the depiction on how the land value tax is paid makes it a little more clear. I don't know if the councilwoman wants to elaborate on that.
I understand it. It's very clear to me what
Yes.
you've done.
So the issue was, there were two, to be honest with you, and actually the meetings that we've had have been terrific. And Kevin, I appreciate you coming in. There's no doubt, and he's shared what that would look like. The reason this was tabled originally is, as I looked at these numbers, I thought it doesn't make sense to me that we're gonna give such a break. It's gonna clean up a corner that is blighted. The proposed project and the renditions are beautiful. What's there now, what he's done at 69 is wonderful. I struggled with two things. The assessed value at $90,000 when we know that they're going to sell for somewhere in the 250 range. I struggle with that. And then,
Your lips to God's ears.
yeah. And the ones that have been put up were in the 230, 240 range that they sold. There was one, I think, that was a little less than that. That being said, we sat down and wanted to understand, if you were to look at this on a per unit basis as we currently collect our taxes, that 4,500 would have gone away. And certainly we could never collect less than what we're collecting now. That made no sense. Mr. Wilbur agreed. We sat down. I took it upon myself over the weekend to put in front of you, you have a chart changing, not really more the mechanics, not the numbers.
Yeah, I see it.
So
And
this makes it clear that we will indeed receive the $4,500 that we're receiving now. And on top of that, and while I'm going to be honest, I still struggle, and he won 2 out of 3 arm wrestles, so that's the way it is. I still struggle with the $90,000. I think that's low. I think that's generous. However, you know, prices are going up. It is more difficult to interest rates are going up. So it'll be more difficult for people to get into those condos, and I understand that. So again, I couldn't personally sign off on anything that we weren't going to get as a base, the 4,500. And on top of that, the schedule. So I present this to all of you as an alternative to what you see. I would replace this page 4 with that page 4. But I will.
Yeah, I just want to make it clear that there was certainly no intention to eliminate that base where you have the 4,500 on yours. The confusion may have been that we put tax incentive 0%, and it meant that there was no incentive given to the land. But
Yeah.
it took me 2 seconds to figure out what you did here. I think you're correct.
I would.
You're hired. We'll hire you for
Thank
the
you.
next time.
And,
It's more clear.
I think if we pick this up 7 years from now, or somebody does, it'll be clearer
That's
as to
right.
what's happening as opposed to looking at this on a gross basis and a per unit basis, which I thought was way too much information and maybe not entirely accurate as to what was happening.
What I would suggest, because it does appear that what you've done is you've said each unit will bear a responsibility for that tax.
Correct.
On the land.
Correct.
So
So it comes
So-
off the applicant
So as
to the new condo owner.
right, so typically think about what a condo usually does, right? You buy your condo unit and you only own from the inside of the paint. And then the rest is common area. So the association is responsible to pay for your grass, your parking lots. You're saying, look, that's great. And maybe you can do that or amend it or come back to us after the stabilization
Right.
has expired. But while it's going on, we want a live body to attach so they have a vested interest to make sure it gets paid. So what I would suggest then, as part of our process in going forward, because we do have to come back for a second reading, is we can make the representation as well as back to the Arctic Village District that within the condo document itself, and it can be approved by Mr. Williamson's colleague.
Or Mr. DiFiore.
Yeah, I said your colleague, Mr. DiFiore, to see that within the document itself, when we declare the condo, that the owners know that they're individually responsible for that portion of the tax, so nobody has to try to chase anybody. Would that be a fair way to make it so
Yes,
that
so
the
that-
town's protected?
The conversation that Mr. Wilbur and I had yesterday was, maybe the association pays it. Well, my understanding is, and we need to do a little research on our part here, is that that's not a mechanism that we have in place here in town, that we don't bill an association typically. So that's a long discussion and you cost
You
too
got-
much. Mr. Wilbur would not like the legal bill that we run up, right? So so that's a long conversation. This takes care of it. There's no question about it for the 10 years.
Yeah.
I think.
I think
So,
you're right.
And then in the meantime, we can smooth out whatever we need to smooth out in year 11 going forward and how it works. And if there's some other way or better way to do this, we're open, but it has to be something that we're not going to have to manually handle.
Right, because the last thing you want to do is you want to say, oh, the people didn't pay their association fee. And now the association doesn't have the fee to pay the tax. What are you going to do? Foreclose on the parking lot?
Right.
Right, you don't want to do
No,
that.
I don't
And
want to do that.
So I get it.
And quite honestly, even in year 10, this is a pretty
It's-
good deal because year 10, using the tax rate as we think it might be at 1803 or 1805 or whatever it's going to be, the tax would be over $4,500. So 10 years out, you're still saving $2,000. I don't think that's unreasonable on our part. And it gets it off Mr. Wilbur's tax bill.
Yeah, and
as well.
and I think it allows us to have the ability to finance, construct, and attract that
Yes.
buyer, ultimate buyer that we think is going to help to grow that area going forward. So I don't think we have any problem with this if it would be okay. I guess my suggestion through your solicitor or through the council president would be, I'd ask that you favorably approve this ordinance with the amendment being made by the vice president that the table that was suggested by the proponent of the ordinance be substituted for the better table.
So
You win no points there, but that's a thank you, yes.
what mechanism is in place in this town hall that's gonna
Actually,
maintain this?
Mark did have a conversation with Sal, and we do have stabilization agreements
I
that
know.
have to do that as well,
And I
so.
still question them, but I'm asking
Well,
about this.
we
one.
can do that too, so I will let you, I did not have a conversation with Sal, you did.
So can you restate your?
How is it,
questions?
how are we sure
So
that this
what
is gonna
mechanism's
happen?
in place between the
What
tax
authority?
assessor and the tax collector that this is gonna be done?
Sal
Because-
currently handles the TSAs now, manually entering the figures as things progress, as the CO gets issued, as occupancy happens. And then.
Yeah,
Sal walks
Yes.
out that door tomorrow.
so that's exactly right.
This isn't in place.
I
Sal
defer to-
forgets it.
I
The next-
defer-
Can I make
Next
a su-
tax assessor does
Can I
not
make
know
a
anything
suggestion?
about
I
this.
think that might iron all this out. Number one, normally you're not going to form your condo association until you have at least so many of the condos filled, correct?
We would, before we could sell them, we'd have to have the association prepared. But what we would do is, we would get all of our entitlements and approvals through the West Warwick
Right.
redevelopment agency. We would pull our permits, and as we constructed, we would have, before we got our COs, we would have the condominium approved and in place. The Mylars and all the documents would be recorded with the
All
town
recorded.
clerk, so they're on record.
Right, so, excuse me, the next issue would be obviously then, there's going to be condominium bylaws for the association.
Correct.
There has to be notice to a prospective buyer that they're going to get involved in something like this. So the ordinance and the suggestion may add to the ordinance that prospective owners, prospective buyers will be notified of this. Also, that the tax assessor and the tax collector will do the following. So everything's right in the ordinance. So if Sal leaves tomorrow, if Rose leaves tomorrow, it's right in the ordinance that how you're supposed to collect this particular tax.
That's okay to do that. I think David's question is more in practicality and reality logistics. Just because it's in the ordinance doesn't mean that it's going to
Will it
get,
done?
Well,
that's right. Yes,
is-
so
I would assume there are
that's our
notes
issue.
within the
That's our issue.
Opal system.
Right.
The second part of that would be, I would suggest that once the condominiums begin to get filled up, there's only 8 of them, correct?
Correct.
That the tax assessor would notify the council that the 1/8 are full, half of them are full, and you're proceeding accordingly. That way, the council will know what's happening as it occurs. And then there's not going to be any, I guess,
I don't want to go as a council person having to
And we-
say, are we collecting the 4,500? Do we collect the
Right.
4,500? Do we collect the 40? I shouldn't have to do that.
No, you
No,
you will
but-
not have to
no,
do
you won't have
that. It's not through my memory or on my paper. It is actually in the computer system for each one of these.
So
And
it's
it's going
programmed
to
in.
specifically say, it's going to show what the full value should be, what the ordinance says the value is. So there'll be deductions
Yeah.
and it'll specify exactly
Yeah.
what is going on for each one. Once that entered into the system, anyone working in that office will see that and they'll know how to progress with it if I happen to.
And it might not be a bad idea, again, going forward, if we have once a year, have a report as to what TSAs we had, because I don't really know which ones we haven't. I agree with you. There was one for Lippert Mill. I think it has expired at this point in time. I know that we have
Yeah,
the
no, it
bill
hasn't.
here.
No, it has
Oh,
not.
it hasn't.
because
No,
it's-
it hasn't even
upon
kicked in
completion.
yet.
Oh, it's upon
It hasn't
completion.
even kicked in
Okay.
until they get a CO and people
Which they
in
have
there.
not.
Until that point, they pay
Just
zero,
like theirs
Yeah,
is.
so
It's
that's a,
Nothing.
so
nothing.
So that's a problem. That's a
Yes, it
bad,
is.
that's a really bad deal.
Yes, it
Somebody,
is.
yes, that so we're trying to avoid that
When
here.
when
this
Kevin
is the,
first came forward with us, we talked about,
It's upon
he did what he
CO.
said he was going to do and he honored the
We
deal.
also
and-
have one right across the street that we just passed.
Yes.
a
Yeah,
couple
yes.
of
yeah, about
33
We did.
Factory
about 5
Street
months
also.
ago,
We did.
4 months ago.
So it's all the same lines that this one in. The first project was finished within a year.
So,
Within a year. So, and one of the reasons being is because of the TSA that was there. Normally, that would be a 3 to 5 year project.
Well, and you probably got 20 phone calls from lawyers trying to
The-
understand.
Yes,
the whole
I had to
thing.
because it was too complicated, I think, just looking at it, I agree with you. So the bad news for Mr. Wilbur is and maybe for you too, Sal, on that first deal, Mr. Wilbur still owes $3,600 or someone owes $3,600 for that project, and I'm not sure that's been billed. So that's just something to look into. Yes.
Well, okay.
So this makes sure that the condo owner
Right.
understands
A
that it's part of
condominium, the
it.
land value in a condominium, once it's recorded, the value of the land is into each individual units. That's why there's no
that's
land
probably
value
That's
on
probably
a-
a conversation that we're going to have because I'm not so sure that I would agree with that process, but that's another story.
See,
And
we'll
we
get
wouldn't want to
Mr.,
tie up.
Get
the
Mr.
state.
Resnick in to teach us all.
Isn't that what you're doing here?
That's what I want to make sure. That's
No.
exactly what you said you're doing, is that you
That's what I
said,
understood.
I'm putting it in,
that's correct. Okay.
but we've never,
Done it that way before.
no,
That's fine.
yes.
But, and I want you to solve all the other problems another day. I just want to know what I've presented before you, because I'm going to have to go back and help
Yes,
draft.
that's
and-
exactly
and-
what that does. It puts it on the condominium owner.
Owner.
That's correct.
And that will take place and expire after 10 years.
But
And then.
we'll have to have,
when-
we'll
and
have to
then
have
you
some
guys will deal
mechanism.
with it.
We'll have to deal with how we get that $4,500 then.
Or
Yes,
well, actually, after 10 years,
It's
you get to
assessed.
reassess the
Correct.
entire project. at
that's
that point in
correct.
time.
That's correct.
So if, I'll answer any other question. I know I've taken up quite a bit of
Mark,
town's time tonight.
you have some questions?
I think Jay was us first, but
Go ahead.
right. Yeah, when I first looked at this, it was as clear as mud. And then when you handed me this one, the mud got even muddier. But as the conversation went on, I think I understand it. So I just want to go make sure I've got it clear in my head. CO, after each CO is issued, the burden removes from the applicant to whoever purchases it.
Correct.
Correct.
So that's that top one.
Correct.
The bottom one is the land is always going to stay 90,000. I mean, in 2050, the land's still going to be
So that's
90,000.
not the land.
The
That's the
condo.
whole condo. That's the condo.
That's the individual unit that the
Right.
person's going to live in. It will be assessed at $90,000
But it'll be times 8.
times 8, correct?
Well, the number you see at the end is the times 8 as opposed to the,
But,
No.
you know, just.
well,
go-
year 0, it's 4,500.
I think you're looking at the wrong chart.
Yeah, so the
I'm
chop.
sorry,
up-
I'm looking at the
So the
first one.
chart up top, we're paying they're paying $4,500 right now.
This is the condo.
Okay, yeah, all right.
Yes. And as a CO is issued,
It's per
it
unit,
drops and it goes down to,
Five
so
sixty-two fifty
so
per.
think about there are 8 of these charts. This is condo owner 1, condo owner 2. It'll be the exact same chart for each condo owner. So that 562.50 is the land portion of that one unit. So it's 1/8 of 4,500.
Okay, I've got that part I have down.
Okay,
All right,
and then,
that's the easy one.
okay. And then the 90,000 is the stabilized assessment. Again, I struggled with it, but when it came out, real estate is crazy now.
Mhm.
I guarantee you, it's going to sell for a lot more than $90,000.
A lot more.
The last deal was $70,000. So this originally said 80,000.
Last
They
deal,
moved
meaning
it to 9,
69? Meaning
69,
Okay.
Washington. So they added $20,000. We could argue that all day long. Again, looking to get, and given the fact that interest rates are rising as rapidly as they are, it will be more and more difficult to get people into those condos at 250 or 275 or whatever they're going to go for. So that's really the incentive that they're talking
So
about.
now I understand this better. All right,
Yes.
I think 90 is way too low. On here, it has a tax rate of 23. So is it gonna still be 90 when it goes down to
No, it's going to stay
18?
at 23.
You stay at 23 for the
We're
life of,
locking in. We're
even if
locking
your
in at
rate drops to
23. We're locking in at
15%
23.
or 10%,
But
we're
I-
locked in at 23.
But I still think 90 is way too low. I mean, in the market that's out there right now, you you can't buy a shed for $90,000 to live in. I mean, it's,
Well, and these are not fair market values. These are assessed values, right? Because we went around and we
Which-
charged everybody today what their fair market value is in the town of West Warwick. Everybody's property has,
So
So be
Rate.
My next
careful since
question,
we just
Mr.
revalued.
Wilbur,
Yes.
I don't have your other your
I do.
other agreement
I
in
do.
front of me. What is the valuation of those condos?
70.
$70,000 per unit.
That's all I need to know.
That being said, the last time I came for that to be approved, everybody told me, oh, you're not gonna sell them, you're gonna be stuck with these, you can't do this. My job.
I didn't see that.
No.
No, yeah.
I did.
Oh,
I did. I meant it.
I did. When we met, I told you, but when I heard about it and they're gonna sell in Arctic and they're gonna be right there and they're gonna sell for 250, I said, well,
I said, no
You're
way.
nuts.
I said, you're wrong.
Yeah.
And I'm glad to be wrong.
that's exactly
I'm
right.
glad You're wrong.
Yeah. You're more glad than he is.
We're on the
That's
same
right.
page.
And there's no doubt. Yeah.
So my job is to make a profit.
Mhm.
Lumber's going up, everything's going up.
Yeah.
Okay, projects are taking longer, interest rates are going up. And I have to bring people in, okay, to support the town. So you can have restaurants and everything else. And I'll be back again with 50 more units. Okay? And we need to work together to give my potential buyers a tax treaty. So that can do what we're doing. So that at the end of the day, we have 18, 5 at the my neighbor. Okay, I said when I get to 75, I'll put a commercial component into this. Okay, because we're all out to try to remember the old days when the streets were full of people, and that's what we're working on.
I think it's important to like clarify that when this is done, even though the taxes are lower than they could be, we're going to be getting more taxes than if it was just an empty like sand pit right now.
Right, if we
correct.
leave it as it is, you get
$4,500.
And it's also
$4,500.
important to note that I sat on a council, was it 17 or 18, and we talked about deals with different developers. And we were going to offer multiple deals and none of them ever came to fruition. And the first thing I said when I met with Kevin was, it was a case by case basis.
What makes you different?
He has held up his end of the bargain. He's cleaned up that area. He rented them out. And, I think at the end of the day, it's good for everybody. Of course, it's good for you. It's good for the town. It's good for the taxpayers to have more taxes spread out more. I mean, and that area there's a lot of good things going on in that area, in addition to the things that Mr. Wilbur is doing right next door. At the Newberry building, we got the new Thunder Mist building at the old bank. I think there's a lot of good things going on in that area. And I think, and you have to get some credit for what you did to make people realize, well, maybe this is an area worth developing in. Because I mean, the people next door, they had to have seen what you were doing.
Right, so you have to, and I'd like you to keep in mind, especially Mr. Bourget, who made a good point about the assessed values. The competition is to bring people that will be employed and working and looking for that Mr. Messier just described from either other communities or from without the state, and not just cannibalizing from one neighborhood to the next within your own town. So we are competing with Providence, Pawtucket, and other areas north, I'd say, of Washington County. And this incentive is a significant incentive to that end user and their lenders, in fact, to do that. So
Just to talk a little bit and touch a little bit more. So that original proposal that we tabled had a stabilized value of $80,000. So as I said, there was some arm wrestling back and forth. I can't disagree with you that I think that's low. However, given the fact of the rising costs of construction, even since that agreement was approved by the Arctic redevelopment, and the fact that interest rates are coming up much higher than they were, the ability for people to afford a mortgage to get into there, this incentive is probably needed at this point in time.
Not only
So
that, it creates kind of like affordable housing in a different manner.
What is your timeframe to have these completed? Do you know offhand or?
I do. I'd like to have it completed by the end of the year.
yeah,
If I get all my permits and everything, these are a little bit different. The last project we did in approximately a year, might have been 14 months. Okay, but we're looking at trying to get it done by the end of the year.
Well, I have no problem with cleaning up that corner. I mean, I want you to go in there. I really do. It's just that we're not a rich community. And to me, that's one heck of a deal. And I just struggle with that 90,000 number because it's just 10 years. I know you say 10 years isn't a long time, and
Well-
10 years does go by like that. My granddaughter just had her 11th birthday, so I mean, it flies by. It's it's,
She said she wanted a pony, by the way.
I will say it does fly by because I was on the council in 2006 when Royal Mills first, they signed in 2004, 5, somewhere in there. And their agreement went off and it's on 100% tax roll now, which was amazing, but
I still just struggle with that number because I mean, everything is going up and that's the
The
balance back and forth that I'm trying to go with, but.
What we
like,
don't want
where-
is,
Where did the 90,000 even come from? It's like, was that just like a?
no.
you know,
No, it was through discussions with the assessor's office based upon other comparables of other condominium units. Not 69 Washington Street, obviously, but with other comparable units. River Farms doesn't make it, right? River Farms probably one of your nicer condo developments in the town. But that's what they base it on, is to, when you go through the analysis of bringing for something from fair market value down to assessed value for a tax and
So-
a services point of view.
let me put it to you this way, and I agree. I don't, it's probably a great deal for Mr. Wilbur and his company. But
It's
wait,
better
wait,
for-
hold on one second. But by saying it is, we've also given these agreements to others, like Lippet Mill, who is on year 7 and hasn't even done a thing yet. And Mr. Wilbur has performed and showed that he is willing to get it done in a year. So if Mr. Wilbur, me personally, and I know Mr. Wilbur went through hell with the first property because the town was always on about getting the old building down, getting it out of here. It was in court. The town itself, when I say we, the town,
You petitioned it
strong
into a
now.
receivership.
yeah, to go into receivership and everything. Now he performed, he built his buildings, and now he wants to do the same thing further down. Now, if I was sitting here and Mr. Wilbur came before us and did nothing the last time or did not perform, I'd be like, no, I'm not signing this. But with, if Lippet Mill came back in here today and said, I want another 10-year,
Yes.
no, I'm done. I don't want to deal with it.
Right.
Because, and we've had that with other people who've come in here
I'd also,
and said, and I'll give you an example, the old post office. We went through 5 years of a deed issue. And finally, the deed got supposedly squashed or taken care of. And then they wanted to come back and have another agreement. And then come to find out, we're still having the same deed issue. I'm like, no, don't even come here. Don't even waste our
I
time.
believe-
I guess my biggest struggle is my house valuation just went up over 100,000. And here we are gonna value these brand new condos at 90,000. I think that's my issue. It's
They're
like,
1,000
and I'm
they're
getting
1,000
phone
square
calls
feet.
from, and I know Mark's received some from one of my constituents, because he CC'd me on it as you recommended to him. It's just when, a lot of the single family homeowners whose taxes may go up a little bit, may go down a little bit, whatever way, but their valuations went up more than what we're even gonna charge for one condo.
I look at it this way, looking at the big picture. I know there's a lot of those frustrations, and excuse me if
The
this seems a
timing-
little
the
bit
timing's-
naive, but
yeah.
right now we're dealing with the Arctic Village. And there's a lot of sections that are, will say it's, even this document says it, we're dealing with blighted, in some cases dilapidated buildings. In this particular case, it's, vacant land
Right.
that we're really trying to turn. I think we're rounding first base. 69 Washington Street and some other things that are happening, we're rounding first base. So the deals or the tax stabilization agreements at this early stage are very enticing to get people in there. And as we get more people in there and the desire is there for other people to pick up the pace and do things and fix up their storefronts, or other developers are coming, then the sweetness of the stabilization agreements as the demand is higher is gonna decrease. So I struggle with the fact too, but I think as we're rounding first base, like you said, the 69 Washington Street was a lesser assessment. This one's a little bit more. Who knows what we're going to deal with next year? But as that demand and the work is happening, then the stabilization request, or at least the voting and the proposals, should reflect the prosperity that's going on, and the demand for what's there. We haven't gotten there yet. And that's why I think this is, although, maybe
I could-
sticker shock value to some, is worth the investment from the town's perspective.
I could also suggest to you, if you recall, as I started the presentation, these were policy decisions that were made knowing it was going to take time to have them come to fruition. Those members, well, David says he was on the council at the time, so maybe you voted it in. You probably lived in the town at the time.
Yeah. I wasn't on the council.
But those were policy decisions that, now that you finally have a developer and now others looking at it and saying, oh, those policies do work. If you don't allow those policies to take hold, seed, and then flourish, you may just find yourself stabilized in an area you don't want to be, which is no growth again, and no incentives for people. And I think your town manager is absolutely correct. It's happened in other communities where you start out with certain incentives, but then as the place becomes better, more lucrative,
More desirable.
less crime, less town services needed in the area because it's more populated, or there's commerce, those incentives dissipate. And I think that's really what you need to look at. Somebody made the decision to create the policy, and now you're at the point where, lucky you were voted in at the time. It has to be implemented, and you have to make that balance.
Yeah, like I said, I have no problem with a tax agreement. I just think 90,000 is too low. And I'm not like asking for 190,000, but I think it should be up more than 90,000. That's just my opinion.
And again, what would you do? I don't know the number either. I don't know the
I don't
number.
know the number either, but like I said, majority of the town, I would say, went up $100,000 on their evaluations. And we're gonna value these at less than what a lot of people's evaluations went up.
So
And it's just, that bothers me.
timing is horrible. There's no doubt about the fact, because we've just gone through the reval. There's no doubt that timing is horrible. Keep in mind that this is a project and a discussion that's happened over a number of months, maybe even longer than that, because I think it might have even started as you were finishing up 69. So Mr. Wilbur will tell you, I went into our first meeting basically saying there's no way this is going to happen. And even in that time frame, interest rates have gone up, prices have gone up as far as, inflation and lumber and whatever else you have to buy to finish a project. I do believe Mr. Wilbur is committed. I agree with what Mark said. We need to get people in here to start it. I don't know what would you change that number to? Keeping in mind, people can take this to Centerville Bank or whatever bank they go to and say, hey, listen, this agreement helps me afford to get into that condo. Because it's a lower amount when you consider your total housing. So that's the big upside, that you will have more people willing to pay for that. And Jason, I was with you. When I heard those were going, I was like, there's no way. There's no way anybody's going to live there and spend that kind of money.
For every dollar more that it would cost the homeowner, they have to make that much more money.
That's correct. So it would.
So
it
you
would-
have
it
lesser
would-
people
it
in
would-
the market.
It would create a pool that is smaller than what we currently would have with this agreement. So is it perfect? No. Is it something that the Arctic Redevelopment Committee has approved? Yes, we're even changing that. I'm suggesting we change that to make sure we're not getting less than what we were getting in the first place. And that doesn't seem to be a problem with Mr. Wilbur. So I also want to honor the fact that they've done some work to get that development here as well. So
I guess, you asked me what number I would
Yeah.
put there. I'm still confused how the 90 got there because I don't know. If any
Sal.
kind-
Sal told us, Sal gave him the number,
I know, but
and Sal gave him 80, to be honest with you.
where the number come from is still my question. I know it may have come out of Sal's mouth or an email or whatever it might be, but I can answer that question. All right.
Just
thank
go
you.
up to the microphone, Mr. Wilbur. People are having a hard time hearing you.
I call Sal, try to get, because my attorney said, Kevin, what value are we using? And I'm selling units. I said, I want to use a third. I know what my customers want. I know what it takes to draw people here. As everybody laughs at me, okay? Every building, when I'm going to put roughly $2 million, $2.3 million in that corner. I'll sell the piece. Another developer, somebody, but no one wants it. no, the Zarellas in these world and the other, they don't call me up and say, "Hey, Kevin, I go, hey, no one wants it. I'm your guy. I was put all the coals because of Nick Cambio, what he did to this town. Okay, I'm not a Nick Cambio fan. I landscaped my property. I paved it. They say, well, why'd you do it that way? Because I wanted to make it look good. Every unit is different in that condo with interior decorator. That's why it brought the values. We spent money and you have a nice clientele of people living there. And that's what it's going to take to sell the next 8 units. And
we get to
So 90, so actually it was
we're at
80.
80.
It was 80. So 80 times 3 would be 240, which is what Mr. Wilbur will sell them for. So under that same scenario, 90 times 3, he would have to get 270.
We'll talk,
I
when I'm
doubt-
coming here and I come with my next 12 units, we're going to have a discussion and I'm not going to get 90.
No,
I know that.
no,
but-
you're not.
But
So don't even.
No, I know, but you're going to say, where'd you start? I'm going to go 100.
Yeah.
Okay,
And I'm
and they're
gonna
gonna
say,
say
well,
no.
no, that's
Okay,
right.
but
So
we're
as long
gonna
as you know, we'll do that
negotiate it and
dance.
we're gonna make the town a better place.
So,
And I don't see anybody lining up, okay? And people said, oh, what about the bank? I said, I'm gonna stay down my corner. I'm gonna finish what I started.
So the $80,000, to answer your question, Mark, is 1/3 of what the ultimate sale value was going to be at 240. So this means it's a 270. So that is the mechanism, again. I'm comfortable with the deal. I'm comfortable having spent more time than Mr. Wilbur would like with Mr. Wilbur. That this is the right way to move forward for the town, to take care of that. And then going forward, I am sure that Mr. Wilbur will be back and have more projects for us as well.
The last condos that you built, just curious, what did you sell those for?
Anywhere from, 210 to 250.
So divided by 3,
Yeah.
get you to the 70 that there was originally. Yeah.
Ken, just
Sorry,
state your name and
Stan.
address for the record.
Stan Tabak. I live on 12 Gendron Street in West Warwick. I'm representing a bunch of hats today, including this one. I'm on the.
Patriots too?
That's
Yeah. Yeah, all
on
right.
that's on the shirt.
All
That's
right,
on the
okay,
shirt.
all right.
So I've been on the development committee that approved this to go forward to the council. I'm a business owner here at John J. Clark Insurance. I'm also the president of the Arctic Village Association. And what I would like to say is I'm going to speak in various ways, but this definitely has the support of the Arctic Village Association. And in regards to when we first did, oh God, it's probably 10 years ago when Fred Presley was here, about with Arctic or the med zone. This is the med zone. This is a med zone for a reason, because it's a depressed area. This is not like any other part of West Warwick. That's why we have these special things in place that we haven't initiated some of them at this point in time. But what I do know is at this moment in time, whatever the baseline for the property you're getting for taxes, it won't be any less than that going forward. That's a base. So you're not going to lose any money, and it's only going to get better. And I will say from an insurance perspective, I have one of my clients bought one of those condos, came from Cumberland, and had a lot of discussion about West Warwick. He was a little, what's West Warwick like? And I had a lot of discussions and various things. But one of the major reasons he bought that unit was the tax incentive. He told me, he says, I'm saving X amount of money. We could have went elsewhere, but we're going to try it here. And we had a lot of discussions about a lot of things. He was excited about the Arctic Playhouse being here. Matter of fact, I know he's been there. I still haven't met the guy, but he was there at the same time I was there one night and I didn't even know it. But that being said, there's so much happening and we got so much activity. I've been on the development committee and we've been waiting and waiting and waiting. People come up to us and nothing's going on, nothing's going on. We have things that are going on now. And you mentioned, town manager Mark mentioned them, the Newbury, that whole area. And actually we've rethought, because originally the design was, okay, condos, apartments on the top and businesses on the bottom. Well, that equation's changed, especially over the last 2 years. There's a lot of things have changed. And my vision for that area right now is down on Washington Street. If we can do condos, we bring property owners in here, it creates a different whole environment. And then Mr. Wilbur, if he's successful with this, he's going to try, maybe he'll take another piece and do something else, go on and on and on. And if that area becomes a residential, now we're in a position to bring restaurants and things like that. We're not going to bring retail stores in here. It might be a little small store or something like that. But this is the vision I'm seeing. But this is exciting because we got all this stuff happening. We got the Newberries, you got Thunder Mist going up. I have customers that have been in my office that are from Coventry, been living there. Look, all this stuff going on in West Warwick. It's getting a buzz. And the hardest thing to do, whether it be a business, a town, is perception. You know, perception of West Warwick isn't the greatest, but it's changed. As a matter of fact, the perception from people outside of this area is better than the people in the area.
I think some of the credit is for the woman behind you as well. Your wife, a lot of the things she's done out there that may seem small to people, but the, you know, the beautifying of the area definitely contributes to it.
I mean, I have to, yeah, she's done a lot. And we have her birthday coming up on Saturday, by the way. But we'll be doing that.
That was a
And
smooth plug. Yes.
but yeah, I mean, on the last year, the flowers were incredible. And I have to thank the Public Works and Jeff for doing that. He did extra care to those flowers. I mean, they were great the prior
I was
years.
getting compliments from
Let's
people.
stay on topic here.
But anyway, all right.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that being said, I just think from a fiscal situation, it's like almost from my perspective, it's irresponsible not to go forward with this. Town's not losing any money. It has the baseline, and each year it's going to get better and better and better. And plus, you're bringing in some people that are going to spend money here. It's just going to cycle. It's snowballing right now, and the worst thing to do is to stop it. Don't stop it. And like Mr. Wilbur said, there's not a lot of people jumping up and down to buy those lots. They're not interested in them. He's took one gamble. He's willing to take another gamble. And right now it's very precarious on all the things that you cited. Who knows what 3 months is going to look like from now? But I just wanted to say, I have a customer. He bought that unit specifically because of those incentives.
And like I said, my big issue is the 90,000. I feel a little bit better about it, knowing how we got 90,000. It wasn't just put your hand in a hat and pull out a number and that's what it is. I still struggle, like Mary Beth says with herself. But you know, it was not 10 years ago, it was more like 12 to 14 years ago when Fred
Right.
Presley was still part-time planner here before we even became manager, that we were all having our meetings trying to figure out how we're gonna improve Arctic. So.
And I think you were part of those meetings, right?
yes,
Well,
Jay and I were
actually-
there, yes.
Yeah, so nothing's happened up until the last few years. And this is one of the kickstarts right here, Mr. Wilbur. And it's going, and to put a stop on this would be terrible, Mark. It would be terrible. We'd be shooting ourselves in the foot.
Like I said, I don't want to stop it. I was just concerned with that number. the
Don't worry
90,000.
about the number.
It didn't
The
make
num-
sense.
The town's not, the bottom line from my perspective, the town's not losing any taxes. You're gonna, if he doesn't do anything, you're gonna get this baseline of tax for years and years and years.
Correct.
You start this project, you get the baseline, it doesn't lose anything. And it's definitely going to increase the next year and every year going forward. So it's going to be better and better and better. So the town's going to have more money than it did. You know, it really doesn't make no sense to me not to do this.
I
at
still have
all.
to be comfortable with the number. So
Okay.
before
I'll get you a better chair, make you feel more comfortable.
It doesn't change this number though.
Don't worry about the number. Look at the bottom line. You look at the bottom line. That number is irrelevant for what the big picture is. It really is.
First reading though, right?
It is the
You know,
first
you got the businesses in the area that are looking
reading,
forward
but
to
if you-
this.
If you
Yeah.
change it next time, you'd have to do it a
Right.
second one. Yes, so.
Okay, done.
Thank you, Stan.
Yep.
Any other public comment on this ordinance? Any other council comment, questions, concerns? Hearing none, I'll take a roll call vote. Councilman Licciardi,
Make sure we understand it is as amended.
as amended with. the-
Correct. Sorry.
I do question the number. I don't question how the number got there now. But I'm going to say yes to this.
Councilman Messier,
Yes.
Councilman Bourget,
After all that discussion, I'm gonna have to say yes.
Councilwoman Williamson,
Oh, yeah, yes.
and I vote yes.
It was your table.
Thank you very much.
I would ask the council, and maybe I should have asked before, but I believe that the next meeting is on the 24th, and will we be on that for the next?
You're killing me. Yes.
I'll communicate with you in case that meeting changes.
Okay.
It's not, the next meeting's not the 17th.
It is the
town financial
17th.
It's a town
Okay.
financial
But why
meeting,
can't, why couldn't we have a little meeting after that?
because it's at the high school and it's not as easy.
Can I make one suggestion, though, that you can contact both myself and Mr. DeFiore regarding your proposed amendment,
Yes,
and we can work on that as quickly as possible.
absolutely.
We have done.
We have.
Not often, but we've done small meetings prior to the town financial meeting.
So before we commit to anything, why don't we check
Yeah,
with
let's see
Paul
what
and
it
make sure
is.
there's no
Right.
licenses scheduled for the 24th, or there's nothing pressing for the 24th, because it will be 3 meetings for the month, so. Then we could discuss, if worst case scenario, if we adjourn from the civic center, the high school, we can come here, re-adjourn if we need to.
So isn't the, is that at 7?
7.
So come here at 6. Just a thought, or have it up there at 6.
Do we have it in the, we have one in the library?
We have upstairs in the media room. Yeah.
Isn't your second reading typically very quick meeting for a
No.
second reading?
No.
Sometimes yes, sometimes no.
Okay.
So we will get to you. Yes,
Details of the amendment.
yes.
But-
We understand.
Prior to.
Right, so I'll communicate the amendment this week and early next week with you and Mr. DeFiore and copy to the town manager. And we'll go from there, and we'll wait to hear back from you as to the date.
We understand that time is of the essence.
Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. Huh?
Each thing we take, we lose half the crowd over here.
I know, we're losing everybody.
It's gonna be Gus and Bert by the last.
Right, new business, resolution approving the sewer budget.
Move the resolution.
Second.
Moving second, discussion?
I still have an issue with this budget. One of the things that, when Jeff said it last week, last meeting, it didn't register until later on. But he said that the budget was 1% lower than last year's budget, and sure enough, it's 1% lower than last year's budget. So I don't know how we need a rate increase when we're asking for less money. I'm really confused as far as that goes. Normally, if a budget goes down, there's less chance for a rate increase. So I kind of struggle with any kind of an increase when we're looking for less money.
Want to answer that, gentlemen?
Good evening.
Evening.
So the issue, Councilman, is you're correct. The budget, our proposed budget is a 1% decrease.
Mic is on.
Is it on? Okay, sorry about that. Our proposed budget for next year is a 1% decrease over the current year approved. The issue is the prior year budgets have relied on the unrestricted funds to balance the budget every year, and that's what we're trying to avoid with requesting the rate increase. If the rate increase is approved, we will not need to go into that unrestricted funds to savings account to balance the FY23 budget.
So how much are we looking for? Like, how much was taken out of the unrestricted funds last year?
The current year budget approved $467,000 to balance the budget. I believe prior year, I apologize, I don't have the exact number in front of me. I believe it was in a $700,000 range. So we're trying to get away from that to having to use the savings account to balance budgets every year, because I'm sure you don't want me to go through it again, Councilman. It's with the unrestricted funds account dwindling down, eventually we're going to be out of money.
So how long ago did that begin? Do you know?
I looked back, Councilman Licciardi, I believe it started in either, sorry, I'm testing my memory here, it was either FY18 or FY19.
Okay.
It started approved, FY, I think it was prior to that. It's been
At
a
least
few
5
years. It's been at least 5 years that there's been a drawdown every year on that
It was
unrestricted
even
funds.
previous to Mary Beth on the council.
Yes.
Because it was said numerous times by former chair people and persons that they don't want to see a sewer tax increase whatsoever. And then that's, like I said, that's when there was no sewer tax increase until they went to the units per unit.
Right.
And that's to me, and that's when we called it out. And Kennahan was here.
Yeah,
and
it was
we
before
even-
me. That was before
Yeah,
us,
and Kennahan and I, like I told you a long time ago, we voted no, because we still saw that as a very big increase based upon multifamily. Anybody with two family or higher, forget it. It was just, they saw an increase of whatever the minimum charge was.
So the FY 20 budget had 500,000 in unrestricted funds. Unrestricted funds, 500, 700. So 20 was 500, 21 was 700, and 22, the current year we're in, was 466,667.
Correct.
We're only going down 100,000 and you're gonna make up the other.
No, we're going to zero in the
No, no, I'm
projected
saying-
budget,
I'm saying the budget itself, projected budget is $100,000 less than last year's.
correct.
So
So that increase that we're talking about will make up the difference between and correct me, Tony, if I'm wrong, the 466 and the 100,000, that difference is, the rate increase will cover that.
Absolutely. The rate increase, if approved, Councilman, will.
66 was in the budget last year, spread apart wherever they use that 460 to cover their budget.
Right,
They're gonna be using the rate increase to cover that budget.
that's correct.
So that's why.
And again, to me, it's the responsible thing to do.
Absolutely.
I can't explain the hows and whys, what's happened in the past. But as much as no one likes an increase in anything, I think they did their due diligence, come up with a realistic budget on a lot of different fronts. It still keeps us in the bottom third of sewer usage charges to all our neighbors. And it's a responsible mechanism to move forward.
You know, I was looking at something today that I found, I requested the overtime from a period in September through a period in October. There were no holidays involved. And the numbers I saw were upwards of 300, 400, 200, 600. And this is per week for 3 weeks. And I know you mentioned there's like a $62,000 of automatic overtime as soon
Yes,
as you
Councilman.
walk in the door July 1st. But I'm looking at some of these numbers, and some of them per week are making more than somebody would make in a regular salary that work here. I think it's high. You've questioned the overtime, Dave. I mean, we see it because it's shown. I just think there's ways to cut this down. I mean, when you're looking at saying, I want an increase, I get it, to make things run. I understand everything goes up. But I think you do a little bit better in kind of finding different areas where you can cut down. Because you're telling people right now that you're going to get a 13, 12% increase. Your reevaluation is going up by $100,000, right? You know, we get the calls. I don't agree with that much of an increase. I'm sorry. And if that's gonna be the case, it's gonna be the case. It is what it is. But I think that you can go back and look, and I still, the admin fees, I can talk it to death. Nobody seems to give a shit, which is fine, but I disagree with it. I don't think I've ever in 3 years been giving the answer that I'm looking for. And doesn't mean I'm right or wrong, but I can't make sense of it. I'm sorry. I can't, and I'll use the simple one as the HR director. At 30% of her time, dealing with a department the size of yours. Police, we have people that are being deployed, people that are out sick. We're down, every time I talk to the chiefs, why I avoid them right now, is we're down by another person. We're gonna have new hirees coming in. I understand the time that takes. You know, we're not hearing that we're having 8, 9 people coming in and out of the sewer department. We have the fire department, which is 70+ people. We have DPW and Parks and Rec. So to me, it seems, all right, that number doesn't make sense to me. And I could be wrong, but nobody's went that far to show me. So that means that she's spending 70% of her time dealing with the rest of the town, and most of them are bigger departments. So either there's something wrong there, or there's something wrong with the management of the sewer department. It's one or the other. So I'm sorry, I can't, I think that you can find more room and make less of an impact on a rate increase. So I'm not for it.
Any other comment from the council?
No, I actually do believe that a lot of work went into it, and commend Tony, coming right in and being thrown into the fire
Thank you.
and delving into what you had to delve into. Again, I agree with what Mark Knott said, that we cannot continue. It's fiscally irresponsible to continue to use our unrestricted fund in a budget. It's irresponsible. So this goes from using $466,000 in this fiscal year to zero. So that has to be made up somewhere. I understand that, yes, a rate increase, and it's a $27 on average for the average user, a $27 a year increase, I believe. Is that correct?
Yes, the average residential user using 6,000 cubic feet of water per year would go, total bill, including debt service, would go from 348 to 375.
Right. And I understand that nobody likes increases, but this is a more responsible way to do it than to tap into the unrestricted. I don't believe it's fiscally responsible to continue to do that. So I actually do commend them. As we talked about last time, a budget number for overtime is not a license to spend it. And I challenge you to find ways to come in under budget. And if we can, that sets a tone for the next year's budget. But to lower a number when you've looked at the numbers and you've sort of gone through the calculations just to make a budget makes no sense to me. I don't think that's responsible either. So
I'm not saying that. I'm saying maybe it can be managed differently.
well,
I mean, I
again,
was always taught, if you're given a budget, you have money to spend, you have $50 to spend. You do what you can with that $50.
well,
that's it.
again, but that's not what we're doing. We're not giving them $50 to spend. We're looking at setting a budget that's realistic so we don't have a shortfall at the end of the year. And again, I think the analysis that Tony did, especially given the fact that he's been here a very short time, has been thorough. I think it's been reasonable. I don't even really think it's that conservative, to be honest with you. And I would propose conservative budgets. But a $27 a year increase, even though it's
Per person,
per house.
per house.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, per sewer bill. Yes. And there will be some that have reductions because of the EDU situation. It actually will go down. So I think, as I said, I will commend them. Yes, it'll be the first year that there will be, since I've been involved, that there will be a superintendent in place, there will be an office manager in place, and we will have an assistant superintendent for an entire budget year, which that's not happened. So it's been a state of flux. I think there are good things happening there. We are winning some awards. Let's not lose sight of that. Excuse me. So I think it is a very reasonable, well put together budget. That would be my take.
I would say,
Excuse me.
I came here tonight looking to say no to this budget. Okay, because to me, if you go down 100,000, it doesn't make sense to raise rates. Clarification, we're not taking out of the unrestricted fund. I don't remember that being said during the hearings. I remember something being said, we're not taking out of it, but to make the correlation between the two, I don't think was said. So I'm probably going to vote with this tonight at this point, but know that, we don't have an election this year, so we're definitely going to be here next year. And so I will tell you now, if the overtime is not under control next year, and if the administrative fees that come to the town, I want to see a formula better than a 30%, this, that. To me, it should be a set formula. Maybe I'm wrong on that. A set formula per year as to how much comes this way for whatever reason. Not, well, we had 6 people that had to be hired, so we used the HR director more. You know what I mean? To me, it's going to be more of a set formula. I'd like to see that also for next year's budget. That way we have a better number. What's that?
We had one and then we switched it.
Yeah, we were asked to do a more detailed, so that's what was presented, and I know a great deal of work went into that. So the way.
Well, I know what she presented this year, but I don't know of any kind of a set formula that was there before. Can you send that to me tomorrow, please? Whatever that formula was, because to me, that makes more sense if there's a set formula that is used every year, so we can see what it is, rather than, we're hiring 6 people, so we use the HR director more, so it's 30% this year. Next year, we didn't hire anybody, so, you know, she did some other
It's,
stuff, so. we
it's not
check with that.
strictly higher, and I don't know if Sherry's
I'm
here.
just- I'm
Yeah,
just throwing,
yes.
I'm just
No.
throwing out as an example type thing. I know you do more than just hiring stuff, so.
Just the correlation to police and fire. Yes, they are much bigger departments, but I'll say they are very different unions. I have very little interaction from a union standpoint with the police
Can
and
you,
fire
actually, can you leave,
departments.
sorry, can you leave that door open, please? Thank you.
Being the municipal union is much more active. So just hiring aside from, I do hiring obviously for all of the departments, but the union activity is more on the municipal end. And then we have to be, the departments can't act independently because they're all in the same union. So the wastewater is in with, DPW and admin here at town hall. So we can't have them doing their own thing at wastewater or doing their own thing at DPW because it could negatively impact other union people as a whole that are all in the same group. So that's why we all work together. I mean, I see Jeff every day too. The municipal union's a little bit different. And again, we try to coordinate everything that's going on with that group to make sure we're not like misstepping. Because once you do something for, one area, if Jeff says, oh yeah, that sounds like a good idea, and he does it down at wastewater, DPW is going to be knocking at my door. They're all going to want the same consideration. So I would say that's why it's a little bit higher, even though there are larger departments. There's far less union activity. The chiefs really, handle their grievances and all of that stuff in-house. They much less rarely have to come to me with that kind of stuff. So
They kind of got bylaws.
yeah, exactly. That stuff handles itself in the police and fire world, whereas municipal is more hands-on in my position. So.
Any other questions? Hearing none, I'll take a roll call vote. Councilman Lichardi?
No.
Councilman Messier?
Yes.
Councilman Bourget?
Yes.
Councilwoman Williamson?
Yes.
And I'll vote yes.
Approval of wording to be placed on the ballot for the all-day vote on fiscal year 2023 town budget.
I'll move approval.
Second.
Moving second, discussion.
I mean,
Wording.
that's the same as it's been. We didn't change anything. That's how it's been. Yes, sorry, Sarah. Yeah, I don't know why I'm looking at you. Yeah.
Just the numbers change. Any other questions on that? Just a quick, I know we have some discussion later on, or we've had some discussion about land or whatever that might be for sale or what the town wants to do with. I know this is the wording for the ballot. Do we also need anything on the ballot 30 days prior to?
It's there. It's
Yes.
there.
Number 4.
Yeah.
We have to approve that too.
Not the property. I don't see that.
Yeah, plat
Maybe not
39.
No,
lot
no, no,
5.
no. I understand that, but this is the wording for the ballot. So if we have number 4 and we approve that, we need to put that on the wording of the ballot because that's going to be a,
But it
That's what
says
it
that
is,
the
further
wording,
down?
yeah,
Okay, my
yes, it
fault.
is there. No, that's okay. I have a question about that when we get there, to be honest with you. Yeah.
just checking. Any other comments? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Thank you, guys.
Have a good night, guys.
Thank you. Thank you.
To construct a pressure reducing valve station on that portion of plat 39 lot 5 on Providence Street, and then made it to the lift portion.
Move the resolution.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion? Well,
I'll defer to Tim on the bulk of this, but this is something that I believe came forward a couple of years ago and then resurfaced last week.
I'm sorry.
No, actually, it was here. It was earlier
Actually,
this year.
It was
And we couldn't-
September or October of 21.
Yeah, I agree. You're right.
Attorney Sullivan reached out.
Right.
There was some questions about whether or not there was going to be a sale of the property versus an easement. So it kind of died on the vine. I don't know what happened, why they weren't pushing the issue. But last Tuesday, Jim Jeremiah asked me to call him about it because he was speaking to Mark about it. So, and we had received, I can't remember if I received something from Attorney Sullivan that day or the next day. So the reason this is on as a resolution is to beat the time regarding the ballot that needs to be put together after tonight for the all-day referendum, if the council wants to sell the property versus if it's going to be an easement, there's no need to put it on the financial town meeting. So it's only if the council wants to sell the property outright to Kent County Water Authority for the fair market value or for what consideration can be negotiated. Right now, I think Sal and I discussed it. I think it's assessed right now at $70,000, the piece of property. So one of the ideas was that Kent County Water Authority charges the town roughly $4,000 to $4,500 per year to obtain the list of their rate holders in order for us to send our bills out. We was thought by Jim Jeremiah that might be a good set off. So it would be the $4,000 a year less that wastewater treatment would have to spend to get the rolls for a purchase. If the town council decides to do an easement, it's basically going to probably be the average price per square foot of the easement. And I think in their map, it's around 4,500 square feet, 4,410 square feet. So it's just a question, whatever the council's pleasure is, easement versus outright sale.
I say outright sale personally, but.
Yeah, unless it's revenue generating.
But the easement deed in here says $1.
No, the easement deed was prepared by Mr. Sullivan. That was never approved. And the council, one of the,
Oh, that, yeah, I'm like,
one of the issues, just for some historical perspective, there's always been a debate about the authority that the Kent County Water Authority uses to charge for hydrants. So when this first came before the council back in September, Mr. Knott and I had a little bit of fun at the expense of Kent County Water Authority, basically saying that the town will convey the property to you as long as you waive all right and title to future hydrant fees, which I believe 70,000 a year.
More than that,
400?
100
Oh,
and something.
I'm sorry, 400,000.
Yeah,
The Water Authority didn't want to play that game, so they kind of backed off a little bit. But that's been prepared by them. I only put this in there for perspective. None of this is, it still has to be finalized. So there's no deal right now. There's no $1 for the easement type of thing. That's going to be negotiated.
They are tax exempt organization. We sell them the property, we get no money in taxes. We'd get the sale, whatever was negotiated, that'd be it. They'd still be charging us for the rate holders file on
But since
top of
since
it.
the
But
town
it's
owns
a-
it, you're not getting any
we're not
taxes.
getting anything anyway.
Right.
Right.
Correct. It's a
Right.
very sloped property. It's probably a 70%, 80% slope.
So it's of no use to us at all.
It's
No,
right at the
it's right at
split
the
there
corner.
going down into the sewer plant. And I can't
Right.
imagine you could do anything with it, but maybe we want to protect ourselves to make sure they can't do anything with it or cut the corner or something. I mean,
The only question we had that has to be resolved is whether or not there's going to be any type of site obstruction. If you're coming, I guess that's going to be west on Providence Street. If you're going to take that U-turn to come out to Pontiac or coming out of Pontiac to get out to Providence, as long as there's no site obstruction, whatever the terrain is, they're going to have to build it in level anyway with I would assume a cement pad. So again, regardless of whether it's easement or sale, they're going to put in, and that's why I put the prototype of what it looked like. Well, I did send that to the clerk's office, but it's basically
yeah,
a
I
steel,
don't
it's
think
a,
I saw
it's a
that. I
steel,
was
it's
going
a
to ask,
steel
what is
building.
it?
Well, I shouldn't say steel. It's a stainless steel rectangular building that basically houses pipes.
When you say building,
No, like, if you walk
Sorry.
into the Webster Knight Drive on the high
is
school.
that what it is?
Right. It's-
Okay.
It's a box.
Yep,
It's a
perfect.
box.
Perfect. Thank you.
Nobody can live there.
That is 90,000, don't be surprised.
Well, I was gonna say, you want to call it a condo, you're gonna have to give it a tax break. But so the issue simply is because of the timing of the financial town meeting, we had to put it on tonight's agenda for the council to take a look at it. If you approve the sale issue, then it gets to the next issue regarding the language on the ballot itself.
I
And
would
again, the
s-
taxpayer would have to approve it.
Yeah, I would see no benefit to keeping it or leasing it or doing an easement. I don't, because we don't get anything for it now.
No.
So
But so if we prove we're gonna sell it, we're gonna come up with a number tonight or?
No,
that'll be on
no,
the
the
next-
fair-
that'll be on
the fair market value right now is
Mm,
is
no.
minimally 70,000 as the assessed value.
So and we'll be skipping to the next one. That's my concern, that the wording, if I walked into a ballot box or into a voting booth and that was on there, I would say, well, how much?
That's why you can amend this, because I
Yes.
didn't know
Okay.
what, the flavor of the council, if it was to go easement, you don't have to worry about the resolution. As far as the resolution, like I said, the only number that I can work off right now is the $70,000 assessed value.
Is there any benefit for an easement that anybody would know about, or
I,
No, because we still have to maintain the lane.
Right,
whatever.
right.
Still be sending DPW down there to
Right.
take care of it.
So we could come up, if we decided as a council tonight, a 70,000 number, we can amend that. So that way that's the number.
what I was hoping for, that the council would agree on a number, but also keep for such consideration that's equal to
Yes.
the fair market value in the event they want to get rid of that
so that's the next one.
$4,500.
So I guess this one is a request and a resolution, so I would move, that we approve it to sell it.
I agree with that.
And we need to specify though the amount on this right now.
That's in the next one.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes,
That's in the wording. Okay.
yes.
Because in the resolution itself, equal to the fair market value will cover what you put in your resolution.
Okay.
And actually what this is they're asking to construct a pressure. So I guess maybe this is a yes or no.
It's a pressure reducing valve station. So if you convey the property to them, they will be allowed to do that subject to their rules and regulations through the Department of Health, DEM, et cetera. So it's not like, it's not as if this is the first time this has been constructed in the town or other cities or towns.
Yeah, I guess I wanted to know what because this says request from Kent County Water Authority Town Council to construct a,
Pressure reducing valve station.
where
They'll
that's
be
not,
taxed on the property, correct?
no, they're tax exempt.
King County Water.
I think this is more along the lines of a pump station, but
No, my only concern is, what are we saying yes to? For them to construct the valve thing or to sell it? I don't know that that's what this resolution says.
Constructing a
they've
pressure reducing valve
notified, they've
station.
notified you and
Station, I'm
requested
assuming,
you
is the
to
building.
purchase the property in order to construct.
Okay, so yes, I would,
So paragraph 3, the town of West Warwick is seeking to comply with Kent County Water Authority's request to
convey,
convey all and part of the real estate to them in order so that they construct, and I put in the third line, for the construction and maintenance of the
Yep.
PRV station.
so
So the only thing the council, again, going on the sale issue, would be to come up with a number.
okay, so yes, I think we should move forward with the sale.
Move second.
My,
Was that, did you move that?
I had a motion in the second.
yeah, it was
So-
motion, yeah.
All right.
I have a motion to sell, seconded by Councilman Licciardi. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Now for the wording on the resolution for the ballot.
Let her read that first and move the approval.
Sorry.
Approval of wording to be placed on the ballot for the all-day vote regarding selling, transfer, or otherwise convey all of its rights, title, and interest in plat 39, lot 5, Providence Street, Pontiac Avenue.
Move approval of the resolution.
Second.
Second discussion, Tim?
Again, just whatever, we have an assessed value right now of $90,000. It's not being taxed because it belongs to the town. This will be a one-shot deal because the Kent County Water Authority is tax exempt. So this would be a one-time sale. Once they have the property, the town cannot tax them. So you just have to come up with a number that you're comfortable with.
So I thought I heard 70 first.
470,000.
Yeah.
A year.
Yeah. I thought I heard 70,
$70,000 is the assessed value.
but you just said
right now.
90. So,
No, I think 90, we were joking around about the
Yeah, well, living there.
condos, about the condos.
Yeah.
okay.
So
So-
Sal, if you want to can just confirm that it's 70,000, because that's, I thought,
That's what I think Sal said. I thought he said 7. Somebody said 70.
I said 70, but I'm getting old.
Well, could you check that? That would be great. Thank you.
So if 70 is the assessed value, again, taking into consideration the other possible piece of this, the fourth or 4,500 a year
I would,
versus the
In
470.
perpetuity.
Oh,
In-
absolutely,
yes.
absolutely.
yeah.
So the language in this, it's basically, instead of having fair market value, we're gonna put a number there, because I mean, I think the rest of the language is fine, right?
We can just add for the fair market value of than for the entire lot.
Whatever that number is.
Well, you're not going to sell a portion, so we would get rid of for the entire lot and omit that section that says or a portion
Right.
of the entire lot.
So we'll read Kent County Water Authority for the fair market value of 70.
Right. For the-
Or a portion.
Yeah,
Yes.
but then it'll read for the construction of the pressure reducing
Correct.
valve station.
And I agree, if we can negotiate them no longer charging us to get the tax rolls at $4,500 a year in perpetuity, it doesn't take that long to get that back, but.
150.
But anything like this, I'm not sure if they're gonna believe our number. We more than likely should have, we're gonna sell it, have it appraised.
Oh, is 150
Well, I
after
was
the,
just
after
gonna
the
say,
reval or prior?
Yeah, that's.
The old amount was 70, I'm sorry. But
Well,
the
I'm
new
gonna tell
value-
you now, if we get it appraised and all that, you know.
There's an expense
Well,
involved.
not only the expense, trust me, I just saw the appraisal from Payon Street. It's 80 something pages long and it took a month. So you're not gonna get this on the ballot if you're gonna go through that route.
Right.
So, and I'll send that off to everybody, by the way. You know, so if we want to say 150,000, that's what it should be. I mean, that's what we have it. We just did it. Listen, we can't talk about fair market value. We're all sitting here with appraisals that we're all griping
So
about.
can I make the suggestion that the tax assessor has just informed the council that the new assessment is $150,000 and that's the dollar amount you choose?
Okay.
Because you can't go wrong with that. I do apologize, but the number I had was a couple of weeks ago. So 150,000, and then we'll omit that portion that deals with a portion of the entire lot. But the language will be kept regarding or for such consideration that is equal
Right. Or more.
or more, sure.
Like a 470,000, right?
So how does the process, if once it passes, then they're able to accept or deny the offer?
Right,
of
if
the
it does, if it falls through, it falls through, the town still has the piece of property. Would have to be obviously a purchase and sales agreement, there would be a closing, and there
So
would
if
be
they
a
wanted to do
conveyance
it-
of a deed.
So then if they want a different number, it would have to wait till the next,
Right.
or November, or the next year's.
And to next time, there would be a ballot question, so it would be November,
Right.
or if there's a special election.
Right.
But I would think the ballot would be able to be taken care of for or even possibly the primary.
Yeah.
But we could check with the Board of Elections on
I
that,
agree with.
but definitely November.
I don't think you could do it for a primary,
Okay.
but for November you can.
Yeah, you're right, because of the distinction of the parties, right? So I think the next general election, if it doesn't go through or there needs to be renegotiation, it would be on the next ballot. But again, this is one item where the taxpayer has to approve the sale of the town's assets.
Still put the same second question on both ballots.
Yeah, but I still don't think you can. I think.
Yeah,
it's-
I don't-
think
I don't-
Primaries are strictly.
There's no primary.
You can't do it with the
And you don't know
primary.
that, that's
Yeah, what
right.
if there is no
Yeah.
primary?
Right.
Right.
So I would suggest that follow the clerk's lead in that if something doesn't, it doesn't come through to fruition, it would be eligible for the November 2022 ballot.
Congress itself has primaries.
All right, so 150,000 is the number we are.
So the resolution will be amended and we're
Right,
voting on an
we'll-
amendment to include the fair market value of $150,000.
Of said real estate or more.
That's correct.
Right. So we'll work on that tonight after tonight's meeting.
Any other comment? Voting on as amended of 150,000. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Okay, request for the tax collector for abatement of taxes in the amount of $4,649.
Move approval of the abatement. Excuse me.
Moving second, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Request from the tax collector for abatement of taxes in the amount of $323.68 for uncollectible 2002 tangible.
Move approval of the abatement.
Second.
Moving second, any discussion? Again, this is going back to 2002, so it should have no effect on any upcoming budgets or previous budgets, correct?
Correct.
Any other comment? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Consideration of a resolution authorizing payment for the council chambers audio video upgrades project from American Rescue Plan funds.
Move approval of the resolution.
Second.
Move in second, and Mark?
Back in July 13th of 2021, the council passed resolution 2021-80 to pay for the audiovisual system that's in the council chambers now to Global AV Solutions for slightly more than $29,000 with the funding source to be determined. That project is obviously now complete with some engineering modifications and some extra hardware that needed to be purchased to make it do what we wanted to do. The final invoiced cost was $33,512.54. I propose formally now that we pay for those out of American Rescue Plan funds. So this essentially is to fulfill our obligation and the need for us to have a resolution that designates what we're using ARPA funds for our file on compliance and submission to the federal government.
Any questions for Mark? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Consideration to approve the sale of town surplus items on duckbills.com.
Move approval.
Second.
Move in second, any discussion? Any public, actually, there's no public. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Sewer use board review, appointment to fill vacancy as an alternate member with a term to expire October 2024. Sewer use board review, appointment to fill a vacancy as a regular member with a term to expire October 2023. Tuxet River Authority, reappointment or appointment to fill vacancy as a regular member with a term to expire June 30th, 2025. And planning board, reappointment or appointment to fill vacancy as a regular member with a term to expire July 2027. Zoning board, reappointment, appointment to fill vacancy as a regular member with a term to expire July 2025. Public forum.
Any public comment?
I just have one thing. I want to thank, I know the chief isn't here, but we had a fire in Ward 3 on Andrews Ave, and I know that they did a great job there, and the community has really come together in an awful situation. A lot of local business owners, a lot of people have come together. I think the town today just approved for them to be able to have a camper out back. Is that
I know that was in discussion.
a local business donated a camper, so a bunch of the families are going to be living there. I know that the Reeds who are not here, they're not usually big fans of me, but they did a great job helping the person that had the fire there and getting them in housing. Local laundromat in Coventry donated some services, so some of the people can do their laundry in the meantime. So a lot of businesses and individuals came together. So an awful situation, but some good from the community came out of that. So.
And I'll pass that along to the chief, just so you're aware, I excused him from tonight because he and a partner drove the ladder truck and ferried it from Long Island. So
Oh,
it
really?
is,
So it's here.
it has
They taking
arrived. It
pictures?
has arrived.
Oh, all right.
The only thing I wanted to ask is there an issue that with the email, anybody else having an issue? Because I know you saw that one email that Fred Gill had put out there, and he said he did respond to me and it never came to me. And then I talked to Derek Reed today, and he said that he sent the entire council something on the fire on Andrews Ave. And I didn't receive that either. So I don't know. It's not
Check
my
your
junk.
spam.
Yeah, I checked in there. It's just not there
Yeah,
at all.
I'll take a look on my copy because sometimes if you're not using the group,
I
our
could tell you
email
were on
address
the
is
fire.
so frequently.
No, you were not. I got the fire and I looked, and actually, I don't think you were on it and you weren't on it.
Yeah.
So I'll double check right now.
Yeah, a constituent did reach out to me and said they messaged me yesterday, and I said, well, why don't you try it right now? And they did, and it went right through. So I don't know if there was an issue earlier,
Okay.
but while she was texting me, I go, send me an email, and I got it at the
Yeah,
time.
I know stuff disappears here and
So-
there, but this is 2 in a week.
No, you're not.
Here's what I
You're not
see. I
on there.
see
Yeah.
Dave Goslin, Jason Lachati, Jeff Ferone, Mary Beth Williamson, and Mark. Now you're not on that email.
I do. Yeah, that was on Sunday. Yeah.
Disregard.
Dave, I'd like to add one thing.
Jay?
Regarding the, well, I guess it's not on the agenda, but whatever. So in the past, please, past 3 years, we as a council have money in the budget to award scholarships to, this is, can I recuse myself and talk about it?
How do you recuse yourself? The issue is about if it's gonna be dollars that might be requested.
The council budget, wasn't it?
Council and the council budget. I mean,
Yes, it's in
It
the
was in our
budget.
budget.
It's in the
All right.
budget.
It's in our budget.
It is in the budget.
So
Yeah.
don't-
So we'll just go
You
through
can
the
put it on the
process.
agenda later on.
Okay.
But it's in our budget.
It's-
We have to
it's
get the
there.
budget to pass before we can discuss it anyway.
No. It's in last year's
All right,
budget.
no,
Yes.
that- I
No,
just-
it's
All
there.
right, so
Yes.
I won't mention, I already spoke with Karen and got the ball rolling with it, and I'll put it on the next agenda.
All right, thanks.
I
Chad.
wouldn't-
I won't say that, so, yeah.
And
No.
also, thank you to the Little League for designating a team for Matt Dennison, and they're gonna do that every year.
Yes.
So it's very nice of them to take that consideration. So I just want to put that out there also in case people weren't aware of it.
And as Stan Tabak said earlier, there is a earth cleanup this Saturday. Everybody, I think it's 8 AM,
8:30.
8:30, if you want, post 2. That's where they start. I know this year I get to drive the bus. So.
Not sure what that means, but yeah.
I'm bringing everybody to the
All right,
location.
okay.
Yeah, because it used to just be Arctic, and then over the past several
expanded.
years, it's
It's
expanded.
going to Crompton,
Yeah.
Arctic to Phoenix.
Yeah,
So
which is great.
just to give you a heads up, it's expanded that far. And it's been a main street stroll. So we start down in Phoenix, work our way up to Arctic. Arctic works their way down in Crompton too. So it's been a main street initiative. So what started out to be an Arctic Village cleanup has been
Tom,
West Warwick Village cleanup. So it's definitely expanded over the past few years. So if you want to volunteer, 8:30, they have donuts and everything, and we'll be there.
So Derek just sent me a text and he said, I sent you a message and I just saw this in my email. It says delivery incomplete and has your email address listed there. So
Okay.
for some reason it is.
So maybe
it's
that,
kicking some-
maybe it
some
was
back.
earlier, like I said, this afternoon, somebody said that to me too, but I did get it later, so maybe.
Yeah, it's weird because it wasn't on the original file.
Yeah, so it kicked it back to him for whatever reason. So I don't know if there's an issue with it or if it just
Yeah.
a glitch that day. So
Any other public comment from the public here? How about online? No hand raised?
All right, motion to adjourn.
Motion to move into
Motion.
executive.
Motion to move into executive session. I apologize.
second.
All in favor?
I,
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
2 minutes.
2 minutes if you need it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good luck.